Let me tell you about the moment I made this decision. I was 34 weeks pregnant, sitting in my obstetrician's waiting room, filling out a form about my birth plan. There was a question on the form. Who do you want present during delivery? List the names of people who will support you. I sat there with my pen and thought about my mother-in-law, Linda, and I realized that putting her name on that list would make the hardest physical experience of my life actively worse. And I thought, why am I even considering this? Let me back up. My husband Marcus and I have been together for 6 years and married for 3. Marcus is a good man and a good husband, and I want to be clear about that because this story is not about him being a bad person. It is about his mother being a specific kind of difficult that I did not fully understand until we were too far in to easily navigate. Linda is the kind of woman who loves her children in a way that leaves no room for the people they choose. She has strong opinions about everything: how Marcus should manage his career, where we should live, how we should spend holidays, what we should name our baby. She shares these opinions constantly and with complete confidence that they are correct. In 6 years, I have watched her override Marcus's preferences so many times that he no longer notices it happening. He thinks he makes his own decisions. In many cases, he is making the decisions she has seeded so carefully that they feel like his own. With me, she has been more careful, polite mostly, occasionally warm. But there is an undercurrent to every interaction. A subtle, persistent pressure to understand that Marcus was hers first and will be hers longest, and that my position in his life is significant but not primary. I have been patient with this for 6 years. During my pregnancy, her involvement escalated. She called Marcus daily, not unusual for them, but the calls increasingly involved my pregnancy. What I was eating, whether I was exercising enough, whether we had chosen the right hospital, whether our nursery setup was safe. She sent articles, she sent products, she sent on one occasion a 4-page printed document about the risks of epidurals that she had compiled herself. I asked Marcus to set some limits. He tried. I believe he genuinely tried, but his version of limits and my version of limits are different because he grew up inside her gravity and doesn't always feel the pull the way I do. 8 weeks before my due date, Linda told Marcus that she planned to be at the hospital for the delivery. Not in the room necessarily, she understood that, but in the waiting area, ready so she could see the baby as soon as possible. Marcus told me this over dinner as though it were settled. I told him it was not settled. We had a long conversation. He said it was important to his mother. I said I understood that, and it was not relevant to what I needed during labor. He said she would stay in the waiting room. I said that knowing she was 40 feet away, waiting, judging the timeline, sending Marcus updates, that this would be in my head during every contraction, and I needed it not to be. He asked what I was suggesting. I told him I was not suggesting. I was telling him that Linda would not be at the hospital when I gave birth. She could come the following day or the day after. She would meet the baby, but she would not be there. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "She is going to be devastated." I said, "I know. I'm sorry that she will feel that way, but I'm the one giving birth and I get to decide who is in that building." He called her that evening. I don't know exactly what was said. What I know is that Linda called me the next morning, and the conversation was one of the most unpleasant I have had in 6 years of knowing her. She said I was excluding her from one of the most important moments of her life. She said she had done nothing to deserve this. She said Marcus would remember this decision, the implication being that I would be blamed for it in some permanent way. I let her finish. Then I told her I hoped she understood that this decision was about what I needed and was not a judgment of her, and that I looked forward to her meeting her grandchild very soon after the birth. She hung up. Marcus has been civil but distant since then. He says he understands my reasoning but is struggling with the fallout. His sister has texted me twice to say I went too far. My own mother thinks I was right. My best friend thinks I was right. The baby is due in 4 weeks. I am calm about my decision. I am not calm about what it has cost in the short term. The tension in my house, the distance from Marcus, the knowledge that I have become the villain in Linda's version of this story. But I keep coming back to that waiting room, that form. That moment when I realized I had been about to write her name down out of obligation rather than desire, and that doing so would have meant spending the most significant hours of my life managing her feelings, instead of experiencing my own. I don't think I should have to do that. Was I the asshole? Tell me what you think. Drop your verdict in the comments. And subscribe. New story every week.